Join us on Now We Consume. Take in the knowledge, take in the laughs, indulge in the topics with us. The Now We Consume podcast will take you through the parts of your day you normally dread. Why suffer through the existential crisis of life alone when you can do it with us? And now we consume.
This is not meant to be a conspiracy episode or podcast, but we may cover some topics that dance that line like a toddler dances on their mother's last nerve. This podcast is rated I, for immature audiences only.
The American Emergency Alert System has been activated to alert the general public to a threat of unknown origin. We are advising the public to obtain enough supplies to shelter in place for up to 30 days if necessary while the military attempts intervention and communication. Just remember, we're from the government and we're here to help.
So what the hell do you do if you're driving along minding your own business and you hear those fateful emergency tones come along?
Am I allowed to answer poo myself?
You can absolutely answer poo yourself. So today we will be discussing a very touchy-feely topic. The apocalypse in you, a guide to the end of the shit. There's an edit.
That's it.
First one in a while.
I just started over at that point.
Yeah. The whole thing?
I think just for the sake of flow.
Okay. All right. So what the hell do you do if you're driving along trying to mind your own business and you hear those fateful tones come up, followed by a message telling you to literally drop everything, seek shelter, and try to find supplies, as that one said, for up to 30 days that you may or may not have?
Is this a multiple choice answer? Because if option D is to violently poo myself, that's probably the option.
Yeah, D, all of the above.
Exactly.
So, yeah, this is a topic that, given the world's current situation, we felt it was worth discussing. The end of the world as we know it is something that's definitely worth talking about, because between climate disasters, the wildfires out west, impact of an extrasolar or extraplanetary object, aliens invading, war, nuclear Armageddon, quantum apocalypse. There's your touchy-feely subject for the night.
Yeah, that one kept me up the other night. Thanks for that, jerk.
You're welcome. On that one, I sent a video to Gibbs the other night, and I was like, dude, you got to watch this shit. This actually scared the hell out of me. And he's like, oh, yeah, whatever. And then he watched it.
It's one of those things that, like, I mentioned quantum computing in the past, and I did not realize what it was capable of until that was explained to me. Mm-hmm. And now I don't want a computer within 30 feet of my bedroom. I don't know. Yeah, no.
Dude, it's terrifying, because quantum computing combined with AI, I mean, the singularity is literally right around the corner. Like, we are screwing ourselves faster and harder than Johnny Sins on a Coke bender.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I feel like we're getting to the point where the future that was depicted in Terminator 1 and 2 is going to be our, like, best case scenario. At the rate things
we
are
better
going.
hope that's the best case scenario, the way things are going.
It's going to be like the Matrix. Like, Jesus.
Jeez.
And not like the kind that we're plugged in. No. No.
That's not even the way it goes.
Hovercraft would be kind of cool. I don't know. It'd be a nice little.
I got to ride in a hovercraft back when I was in the Navy. That was a fun ride.
Was it like the big one that's the big troop transport thing? Or
Yeah.
Oh, those things are cool.
It was a giant sardine can. But hey, before we get too far into this, I want to take a quick moment and give another quick birthday shout out. My son Aiden is leaving the early part of life and becoming a teenager tomorrow. He will be the big 1-3, 13 years old, crossing another doorway into life. So happy birthday, Aiden.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, that's 2 in 2 weeks, and yes, I'm feeling quite old.
But yeah, for this episode, what we wanted to talk about is, I know we've been kind of on not like a depressing mood lately, but we definitely talk about some serious topics. But we did want to offer as well, in both of our experience, and kind of in our various knowledge and everything, what are the things also people can do to prepare for these different scenarios, and kind of the proactive measures you can take to be able to give yourself a better chance to be able to kind of, have an answer.
Yeah, we've done a lot of doom and gloom, and we've done a lot of we hate this and that kind of stuff. So we want to give people a little bit of hope, but it's not all fuzzy, huggy rainbows and everything. It's some serious shit.
Oh yeah, it's some information we thought it's important for people to know, because it's something that really, in the Western world, like, we have it so well here that we don't worry about things like food, water, shelter, fuel, survival. It's not something that we actively really ever think about or engage with. And especially with many of these scenarios that are relatively looming that we're going to discuss that we haven't even brought up yet in the intro, I think it's worth talking about, just so people are aware and informed. And at least you might listen to this and have something in the back of your mind thinking, wow, I can research this. I can look this up. Maybe, even if you just do a couple of things that we talk about, it could make a big difference. Just on general purpose, regardless of an apocalypse happens, something, even if it goes like a hurricane or a nor'easter or something to where you have an emergency. Emergencies happen all the time, even outside of, huge catastrophic events.
Major disasters, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, something minor that you do can literally make the difference between getting through a major event and, not.
So yeah, we just want to discuss a few of these different topics and make people aware. And it's not all doom and gloom. We're going to have some laughs, going to have some fun, but also we're going to have a couple of serious moments here coming up. So
yeah, because one of the things that I wanted to mention was most people, especially people who live in the cities, that live in apartments and stuff, they typically on hand have 2 days, maybe 3 days worth of supplies, and then they have to run to the store.
What's the old phrase that most cities are 6 meals away from total revolution or something like that?
I think it's 9 meals. Yeah. So 3 days.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks, I think. The cities themselves are typically stocked at the stores for a week or two before they're like out, like COVID level. Store shelves are empty. We're not getting a restock kind of deal. And in a major event where the trucks aren't trucking and hauling and restocking shelves and stores, that's the kind of stuff that you need to be prepared for ahead of time, because if you're trying to prepare in the middle of or during the disaster, you're not going to get anything you need.
No.
Or if you do, it might come at a higher price, monetarily or otherwise.
For 99% of all supplies, if you're looking for it the day of it happened, you're too late, quite frankly.
Right.
You're going to have to outcompete people, and you have to do something that you don't want to do, which we'll discuss later.
Right.
But so I guess one of the big things we could talk about here is I did kind of a list in order of, to me, to my mind, what I think is the most likely to what's going to happen or what could happen, because of just the various state of the world and things that are happening. But this list is in no particular order in terms of like an educated thing. It's just my list that I came up with.
I did my list in like the order that I thought it could or would happen.
Well, you're putting that one at the top just because. The thing that kills me is I don't disagree. Okay, I'll just, I'm going to let you win for this one because I agree with you.
Okay.
So we were talking about, so you shared with me a video from the Y-Files about
we referenced that video or that channel a lot, but God, he just puts out such good information, and he puts it out in a way that's like, okay, this is crap, this is fact, this is the stuff that we can't prove or disprove. And I love that about his channel. It's
very digestible, and it's understandable, and it's something to where you can kind of keep it and be able to utilize that information. But he was breaking down quantum computing. Now we're both computer people, we're both tech people, we're both savvy, so we both already understand. We do understand how computers work. We basically beat rocks into thinking. Essentially, we beat silicon to death at a microscopic level, essentially. But with quantum computing, what is insane, it's the amount of calculations and the way it can do it. So basically, there is no encryption in the world that will be effective. Anything can be broken in the matter of seconds, which is terrifying. And when I say anything, I mean anything if it's connected to the internet can be hacked into, leaked, shared, deleted, moved, anything, which means things like our power infrastructure, things like our water supply, military, information
Nuclear
technology,
codes.
nuclear codes, anything. But the biggest thing that we rely on, at least in the Western world, is our power, our electricity.
Mm-hmm.
So you had quantum apocalypse at one. I had national power outages by a cyber attack, number one. We're both in a similar vein of, at least in the way I look at it, is most people in America would be completely screwed if the power went out and just never came back on.
I'm putting that number at about 80% would be totally, useless without electricity.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed, but I could get by.
Same. I have a few generators. I have solar panels. I can figure some stuff out. I'm not a great electrician, but I have some tools on hand, which we will discuss later as to how we can survive.
See, I'm not a great electrician, and the people that find that out about me are usually pretty shocked.
I hate that. I hate that.
That's a terrible dad joke, I know.
Wow. That's... She don't have one on the way or something? Like, Jesus, that was bad. And I'm actually more pissed at myself because for a third of a second, I was like, why would people be shocked? You know what you're... Oh, that's what I'm mad about. But anyways, this is actually a risk that our military and political leaders have been mentioning for the past 5-10 years, that have been vulnerabilities. A lot of our supplies in terms of our electrical infrastructure and even internet infrastructure has been coming from China for decades. Huawei has been one of the biggest suppliers in the world, and they're basically exclusively made in China. So there's been a lot of security risks even without quantum computing, so let alone with quantum computing. Imagine the idea that there is no bank account that is safe. There is no crypto wallet. There's nothing. Everything can be accessed in the matter of minutes or seconds.
Yeah. RSA 4096 encryption was thought to be the best, strongest, most unbreakable encryption, period. The best supercomputers on Earth were thought to take 14 quadrillion years to crack it. And the Willow quantum computer from Google last month in December cracked it in 5 minutes.
Yeah. So you're talking not hundreds of thousands of times. You're talking millions or trillions of times quicker at computing these things. So imagine doing simple things like getting into your Facebook, getting into your bank account, getting at your records, and displaying them for the world, doing anything. You could blackmail anybody.
Yeah. That means literally anything that is not NSA level encrypted is now at risk.
And even then, even if it's at NSA level encrypted, it doesn't matter. It will still get through. So I guess one of the things for people to consider is, granted, most people at home, you don't have any information that's really going to make you a target. So all those people that are like, oh my God, I have to 97 encryption methods and I have to have my own NAS server and own this, own that. No. The reality of it is anybody that's an average person, if you're not making $1 billion a year, you're not going to be targeted. This is more at infrastructure. This is more at supply lines. Now,
if you're not making like disgusting amounts of money or trying to do something that's like apprehensibly illegal or a threat to somebody, higher up in the system, no, you're not a target.
No.
Or innocent civilians.
Yeah. You might be wiped out by the fact that like Wells Fargo would just be decimated by a quantum computer and oops, you don't have anything anymore. It's
all
gone.
bank accounts go to zero. Yeah, that would hurt.
Which if you thought back in 1929 when we had the economic collapse, the Great Depression in America, if you thought that was bad, most Americans by far have digital assets more than physical, unless you own a house or something like that. But anything that's money, it's almost all digital now. Very few people I know cash out their checks and have physical bills. But then here comes the other problem. Bills won't be worth anything if the economy goes down because you can't do anything with them because you can't exchange them for anything anyway because it's worth nothing.
They're backed by the faith in the government.
Yeah.
What's that worth nowadays?
Nothing. So and remember, no government services would be operating or something like that. If everything happened, everybody would be doing, not everybody, 90% of people probably should be with their family, taking care of them, doing what they can. So you can't rely on any services or anything like that. But right. I'm glad we do both agree that collapse is, I think, by far the most prevalent, the most possible. Definitely for something like that. We can cover in a little bit in the list of all the things to prepare for. We're just going through the list of the various things. That coincides with an economic collapse. I think, though, this one worries me more because I want to put this one at number 2 very specifically. We have printed in this country way more money. By how much money? So I was actually looking at an interesting comparison. I think I might have even brought this up a couple of podcasts ago, but we have like 30-40% more people than we did in 2000, but yet we have like 500% or 1,000% more money. So therefore, we're going to be hitting to a point where the M2 money stock, that hyperinflation is going to catch up to it, and all of a sudden, over the course of a few months, I hate to say it, but there will be a point where hyperinflation will be a thing. I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't. But if that happens,
there is a statistic, and I didn't know you were going to bring this up, or else I would have looked it up. I believe there is more U.S. cash owned overseas than there is within our own borders.
Yes.
I just don't know how much. But it is a staggering amount.
It's not like it's quadruple, but because of our debts to countries like China, that we have to pay. I think
it's at least twice.
Yeah, it's about like 2.5 times or 2 times, something like that. But that's imagine taking all of the money that is available in cash in America and then more than doubling it and saying, oh yeah, that's what we basically have assets outside of America. But that's one of the consequences of having the petrodollar and having, oil for so long being only bought and sold in the US dollar, is a lot of the money that's printed Americans never see, at least since like the 1990s, which by the way is insane. I still want to do that separate episode about the US Treasury not actually being run by Americans.
Right.
Or even our own government.
Or being a government entity.
Exactly. But with those couple of things bundled in, what I want to say is there's definitely a thing when it comes to not finances necessarily, but being able to barter, trade, goods, metals, services.
Yeah, having skills that you can, work off your debt with if you need to, or just trade skills for items.
That is going to be something that would be huge in that scenario. I'm just going over like things that are specific to these scenarios. We have a big list of stuff to talk about that's just generic for all of them.
Oh yeah.
I did see. I liked your number 3 there. I didn't think about that one.
That's why I put it in there.
So you had an EMP, natural or man-made, and or a space body impact. That's the one I really didn't think about.
Yeah, we had that NASA DART mission that we were testing to see if we could even redirect an astronomical body. We had an asteroid that was orbiting another asteroid, Dimorphos and Didymus, and the DART mission sent an impactor into the orbiting body. I think it was Dimorphos, and it changed the trajectory enough that we could measure it from Earth. That was our testing to see if we could change the trajectory of an inbound asteroid to divert it with enough warning if it's on a collision course. So basically, Armageddon without the nukes.
Yeah.
Or the drilling.
Yes, also that.
Or the emotional Aerosmith songs.
It's such a good movie, but it's also so freaking absurd.
Right.
But it is such a good movie.
I almost like Deep Impact better as far as that part goes.
Yeah. I feel like it never got the credit because Armageddon kind of overshadowed it.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's because commercially it sold really well because it had so many big name actors and actresses in it.
I feel like it got shit on because they had a black president. Morgan Freeman was the president then. People are like, oh, a black president? Really? What?
Q 2008?
I believe 5 years later. It was a solid movie. I liked that one a lot.
Oh, yeah. So Morgan Freeman's been president in like 3 or 4 movies now that I think about it.
Dude, he's been president, he's been God, he's been like everything.
Johnny Sins of the acting world? I don't know.
Basically. God, we've mentioned Johnny Sins twice already, and we're only like 15 minutes in.
That does not say good things about us.
No. Random thing. I saw a thing on Facebook. People are saying, look up the movie for your birthday, and that's how 2025 is going to go for you. Mine was Backdraft. Oddly enough, all the weird fires out in California. Am I important and I don't know it, or what?
Oh, my God. It would have been way worse if you lived like in LA. That would have been prophetic.
He's the one. Get him.
But no, a space body impact, unfortunately, folks, there's nothing you could do for that. Like if it's
there's very little we could do, but only if we have the warning. And as was brought up in Armageddon, the budget to monitor outer space is about $1 million.
But if something hits the Earth, there's nothing you can do about it. Like it's literally just it's either unfortunately, I hate to say this, either the government figures it out or we die.
Yeah.
So
or
that one's probably the most terrifying one.
Now we have Daddy Elon in office, or in coordination with the offices, so maybe he could figure something out. Oh God, don't look up. That movie, Don't Look Up. He's going to be the eccentric rich guy. Oh gee, oh God. Have you seen Don't Look Up?
Unfortunately, no. It's on my list.
You need to watch Don't Look Up. It's actually a solid movie.
Okay. Why don't you just feel like he just make the Tesla cannon and shoot Cybertrucks at it to cut it in half?
Let's do that.
The cyber wedge.
Yes.
As they call it.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, the next one on the list, I think, is the one that, man.
This is the one that probably, next to the quantum apocalypse, is the one that scares me the most.
Because this is the one that really, boy, can it go so many ways. And there's a lot of bad shit that would happen. But we were talking about World War III with Russia, China, the Middle East, or, unfortunately, a potential, second civil war. Which, with the way things are going, World War III, I am hopeful that in the future, now that there was a historic peace deal, again, that's going forward, and hopefully things under this presidency, maybe things kind of, quiet down a little bit. But if that were to happen, as you can see with what's been happening over in Ukraine, with the Ukrainian-Russian war, it would be terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. I see that, Pip. But it would be incredibly scary to have a war that's basically decided by drone warfare.
Oh God, yeah, and the drones are being used by the Russians. They're just arming them with rocket launchers, recoilless rifles.
Yeah,
they're getting a tremendous dollar per performance ratio out of them.
Which is insane because like 15 years ago, like I remember when the U.S. military brought in, I forget the name of the drone, but that one that's been used ever since like the late 90s, early 2000s. Predator, thank you. They were always talking about, drones will only ever be used like, very long range for reconnaissance, for surveillance, and for, light munitions and things like that. And then you look at Russia, you look at Ukraine, like, we're going to strap 10 pounds of C4 to this cardboard thing and fucking throw it. Like, no, it's insane. But
I think it was because that guy on YouTube put a 9mm on one.
Yes.
And showed that it's possible.
Oh, yeah. Which is scary. Let's hope the gangs around like LA and New York don't get too tech savvy, because that would be fucking terrifying. Like the Bloods and the Crips just having red and blue drones going everywhere with 9mm with Glocks.
Blue drones with red lights or red drones with blue lights? What are we doing?
I can't tell if it's the police or the gangs. But World War III is something that, unfortunately, is actually kind of becoming a more serious threat as time goes on. Especially,
and this is something we mentioned in an earlier episode. Einstein, our first episode, actually.
Oh yeah,
the AI revolution. Einstein said that the Third World War, he didn't know what weapons would be used in the Third World War, but the fourth one would be fought with sticks and stones. And the Third World War most likely will be nuclear. We're all pretty confident in that.
It's just the question of where will the nukes land? Because,
Yeah.
we don't,
Unfortunately,
in America, we don't have
the.
that's assuming that they land. Because I know
Very true.
we helped Israel develop the Iron Dome, and it's been pretty darn effective so far. I would be very surprised in the U.S. if we don't have at least a similar technology defending a lot of our more sensitive areas. I'd be surprised. At least in a short-range capacity. We got to have something.
I'm assuming that we have things around hypercritical areas.
Yeah.
DC, probably New York, those kinds of places. Probably some things around like our silos.
Yep, and around NORAD and a few other places, but...
Right. But the general public areas are probably going to be left to fend for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And because I happen to live, within proximity to a large supply center, I've already seen the map. I'm in the secondary targeting zone.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you, bud.
Yeah.
That's why.
So that's fun.
Oh yeah. But definitely with something like World War III, the problem is it could go in many different directions. If there's no troops on mainland America, if it's just bombs, which I know would be terrible, at least if the economy is still somewhat functioning, if digital functions are still somewhat functioning, as long as you prep, your basic things that we'll talk about later, you have a decent chance of at least surviving and stuff like that, or making your way out of it. It's not going to be the most debilitating thing ever, but
I'm pretty sure they blast us back into the 1800s.
The thing is, though, is
literally just a handful of warheads have to fall, and that's it.
I just, I would think by now, after the last 40, 50 years of us having to deal with this threat after the Cold War, you would have thought they would have come up with some sort of solution by now to at least keep them from detonating near mainland America, but who knows? You could be right.
I would think a lot of things.
I know.
Just look at some of the problems that we've had in the last, 10 years. And you look at it and you think, wow, that should have never happened. And yet it did.
Well, the government's really good at that.
Remember, they're just here to help.
Yeah, supposedly. And then the other threat we have here is for a civil war, which along kind of political lines, which granted, I will admit, I think besides a few outlying things, I think a lot of the general population, at least from where I see, is kind of a little more calm than it was like 4 years ago or 8 years ago. It's not as much of a threat, because I remember 4 and 8 years ago, it was people were going at it in the street. Whereas now, I think a lot of people are way less worried about that. But it is.
When I was watching riots in Columbus.
Oh yeah.
I'm obviously not going to say exactly where I live.
Yeah.
Some people that listen know, but watching the riots in Columbus, that was close enough to me where I was like, oh shit, it's time to get the kit ready.
Well, you see, I am only
right
3/4 of a mile from the downtown of my area, and I still have paint chips missing from the front of my house from people throwing bottles and shit at my house after they were protesting and burned down several buildings in the center of my city. So,
wow. Trust
me, I was sitting there with, ready to defend my house with a bucket of water in case they threw shit through the window, and that was tough. That was what really woke me up to oh, I gotta have things prepared and ready to go.
I will also admit to a mild bit of arousal from the thought of, getting to engage some people that were, trying to bring it.
I'm sorry, you said arousal? I do not endorse that language for that. For legal reasons, I do not endorse that language. No. But it is also that kind of this is my house, screw you if you're attacking me kind of thing.
Oh yeah, but from my house to the road entry, I mean it's 175 yards. Ask me how I know that.
Anyways. Anyways, we are going to gloss over that one.
Arranged that or anything?
No, not at all. But is it something that could happen with a civil war? Sure. I do think it's way less hot than what it used to be in terms of as a topic or as an idea. I will give a lot of Americans credit. I will say I think after what we've seen politically over the last few years, like a lot of Americans kind of realize, like, yeah, the system sucks, but we're not going to go fighting each other to support a broken system. So
no matter how much people hate the way things are or have been or have gone, I think collectively enough people agree something as bad as a civil war would be collectively worse. No matter how much better the recovery would be eventually, going through that would still be worse.
Oh, yeah. And that's one of the things I do want people to realize, that any sort of confrontation in mainland America, there are so many Americans with firearms that know how to use them, that have home field advantage to knowing their areas and the topography and their houses and the land. It would get out of hand really quick if it was a Civil War type scenario. Holy crap. Like, when people don't understand, the largest military force in the world are U.S. armed citizens. There is no military in the world that even comes close to the numbers that we have. So, like, it's one of those things where there's no way of dealing with that. No. And unfortunately, it get really bloody, it get really messy. I hope to God that never, ever happens. But it is something people should be prepared for and aware of. And I do notice your next topic here, which I feel like this horse are already a little dead. However, I think we're going to beat on this horse some more. Your next.
Can we go an episode without mentioning this?
No. I feel like that's going to be like one of our slogans. But you mentioned the AI takeover and enslavement of mankind. You know, I will say that is possible if people are stupid enough to give the AI, you know, like robots and other things and autonomy.
I just feel that, like I said, with the advancement of quantum computing and the continued advancements of AI, there was a new one that came out, and I sent you that video.
Yeah, I like it.
It's literally unchained, and it put the new Chat GPT 4.0 and Claude to shame. There are less restrictions on it, and oh my God. I'm waiting for somebody to just put a system like that into a quantum backed system and just say, here, let's merge these and see what happens.
No. No. Don't give them the idea. No.
I'm a potato. If I've had the idea, somebody else has already had the idea, okay?
I'm going to quote you saying that you're a potato.
I'm a potato. I'm a potato.
But no, they probably have had the idea. Or we need to tell scientists and engineers no sometimes. Yeah. We really get better at that.
I think they all need to have, when they're in college, the quote from Dr. Ian Malcolm. They were too busy trying to figure out whether they could. They never stopped to think whether or not they should.
Yeah, which
they need that all tattooed on them.
Basically. It's like the Hippocratic Oath that's for doctors. You need to have a moral and ethics oath if you're an engineer or a scientist.
Uh-huh.
You're like, hey, cut it out. We did have on the list also as well for a global pandemic, anything like this, like the bird flu pandemic was like 1919 or something like that. I'm not going to count COVID, but we're going to do a COVID-like thing, except if it actually was like the way it was reported, yada, yada, yada. We did that. We covered that last podcast. But global pandemic is something, though, to keep in mind because that's a very different type of scenario where you are solely focusing more on keeping yourself very insular, keeping yourself kind of, between fed, clothed, and everything else like that. But, you're not being pushed by an exterior force or anything. So it is a little bit different.
Let's imagine it's like COVID level transmission, but like Ebola level severity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Worst case scenario.
Yeah, you just have to survive in your yard, in your house, or in your immediate area.
In your bubble.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next one you put.
Uh-huh. This is something that I've kind of hinted at And I talked about it, I think, in our last episode, very, very lightly when I mentioned the drones. A national multi-target coordinated drone strike by a foreign nation. Given the amount of drones that are available and how easy they are to manufacture, if a foreign entity took the time to plan, manufacture, equip, deploy, and train enough people to use them, and without getting into politics, we know that it's easy to get people into this country untracked.
Yeah.
Set people up, set people out with small drone swarms, and they're armed.
Hey, good.
With energistics. If you don't know what that term is, look it up. I'm not going to say it on the podcast. And they decide, hey, on this day at this time, this is when we set the drones out and we hit the red button.
Yeah.
What do you do? Because it's 50 cities, it's 100 cities, it's 500 cities all at once. What do you do?
There's not much you can do for that one.
No.
Other than hope you're not near a primary target.
Uh-huh.
But it's the fallout. It's after it. That's
right. And again, is it feasible? 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Is it likely?
Probably not.
But is it possible?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the chance is not zero.
Well, considering like I was watching in China, they were doing like almost like aerial sculpture and aerial photos and imagery, stuff like that, using almost over 2,000 drones being synchronized to make things and do things and like show images. So if they can do that for a light show, there's no reason why you can't do that, across a large area. And it is possible.
And here's the thing. A large group of drones will show up on radar. One or two drones, they're not going to show up on radar, especially if they're coded.
Yeah. If they're small enough,
Mm-hmm.
They're the size of a bird or smaller. There's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah. Or hell, use the bird drones.
Oh God.
Because some birds are drones. Not all birds, but some birds.
What? No. What?
They have drones that are designed to look and mimic birds. Look like and mimic birds.
No.
Yes.
I refuse to believe that.
100%.
You're gonna have to show me. You're gonna have to show me proof later.
I will show you proof later.
Because if that's the case, I am buying a lot more birdshot. My house will be a no-fly zone. it will be enforced by me.
They 100% have drones that are designed to fly with flocks of birds to find out the migration patterns. So,
all right.
A little bit of tweaking here and there.
I hate every part of that sentence.
You're welcome. Enjoy your sleep tonight.
I wonder how many times there have been hunters like duck hunting or something like that. They're like, wow, this bird is really silicony. Like, wow, this bird, this tastes like shit.
Why are there these weird green crackers in my bird?
I can't get these chips to anyways. And then just for fun, we'll be discussing later as well, the idea of, like zombie invasion, alien invasion, things like that. I refuse to, by the way, I will just say this for a zombie. We're talking Walking Dead, not I Am Legend. If it's I Am Legend, I'm choosing I'm choosing the self-deletion option. If it's Walking Dead, I will be frolicking through the fields. There's two very different things. So I'm just throwing that out there right now.
The image I got of you just frolicking tra-la-la-la-la through a field of flowers.
Yep. Rifle on my back, cowboy style with the pistol. Oh yeah. But that's because I one of these days will go on a Walking Dead rant about how that show pisses me off, how they depict zombies. But anyways, if it's I Am Legend, I'm cashing out. Nope.
Oh yeah, no, those things were terrifying.
Or even like World War Z. Granted, I know the movie wasn't the same as the books. I know about that whole thing. That
pissed me off.
But since most people have seen the movie, I'll do the movie reference. If it was the movie reference, you at least have a chance if you know what you're doing. But anyways.
I mean, those zombies were pretty aggressive.
Yeah, but they weren't nearly as sensitive like the I Am Legend. They weren't as strong.
Yeah.
So as long as you like were quiet, kind of were chill.
Yeah.
Then also the alien invasion thing is, I mean, you could pick your movie. You know, It really depends. But in most all of them, you're just kind of along for the ride. Find somewhere secluded and just chill. You know.
Are you old enough to know that movie?
No.
Mars Attacks?
No, I never saw that one.
Oh, classic.
I think the oldest...
It's terrible, but you got to watch it.
I think the oldest alien invasion movie I can think of is still Independence Day.
Independence, yeah.
Which that's like I know that's the classic.
90s.
I will say the one that still was most terrifying to me, you know, H.G. Wells, you know, War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
I'll give Tom Cruise some credit here. I normally don't like him that much as an actor, but he did a great job in that movie. As much as the character pisses me off for him being a terrible dad, he at least did the acting well for that one. And that one was terrifying.
I'll give you that.
You know, but for Alien Attacks, we'll have stuff to talk about with that in terms of how specifically to prepare, depending.
Yeah.
You go.
This one I had in here. It was actually separate from the drone one.
Oh, I didn't see that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's similar to the drone one, but it is kind of a separate thing because just in the way the logistics are done. Some people know and understand that foreign companies own and operate a lot of warehouse and shipping companies in the U.S.
And farmland.
And farmland too, yeah. So they have access to land, they have access to storage, they have access to transportation. So if there are enough bad actors, and again, this is a very unlikely scenario. That's why it's at the bottom of the list. Coordinated multi-city attacks similar to the 1993 Trade Center attacks due to the flow of untracked persons and supplies through the southern border and foreign-owned shipping, interstate warehouses, and trucking businesses. If it was planned out, and I did this in a war game scenario, and I talked to you guys about it a few years ago, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
You know, supplies brought in from the West Coast, shipped to foreign-owned real estate places all across the country, and upwards of 5,000 people deployed, and an attack could be launched from within the country. You know, several lone wolf attacks, and then larger, if you remember, like White House Down or Olympus Has Fallen type deals. Those type of attacks could be carried out if they're thought out and planned for.
Oh, yeah.
Again, highly unlikely because that kind of traffic tends to attract attention from the people that they likely should attract attention from.
And especially with us being such a surveillance state at this point in most major metropolitan areas, that it's very hard to get away with something like that.
Right. But it is something to kind of keep in the back of your head. You know, as much as I dislike the whole idea behind it, you know, see something, say something. You know, it works sometimes.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, that was the last one on the list there. And then the zombies and aliens. You know, if a sufficiently advanced race is able to travel the stars and come down here and decide that we're lunch, I got news for you. You better just start rolling around the salt and seasonings because we're lunch.
There was a I'll do a quick interjection. I saw one of my favorite. There's a short story I read once about, you know, an alien civilization came to Earth and their way of fighting was to do like a very formal thing, like you send 500 of your best fighters or whatever. And apparently these other civilizations had only ever fought. Granted, they have space travel and everything, but they still fought with melee weapons. And so they found out what happens when you go against 500 Marines when they said, all right, fight. And they all dropped dead and they couldn't believe that these tiny little humans had these boomsticks that all of a sudden all went bang and then everybody died. It was funny because it was told from the perspective of the aliens. And if anyone ever wants to look up I believe a short story about something to the effect of like aliens first fight against humans, and it goes to show. But it was a really funny perspective because God, we can hope that they wouldn't be so advanced to have all this other stuff. But yeah, if there is some sort of group that comes here, oh yeah, we're not fighting back. Like we could try, we could put up a good fight, but nothing's gonna happen.
Oh yeah,
unless we're super lucky.
Yeah, like we could potentially put up a reasonable hold, with non-nuclear technology, but it's going to come down to nukes or nothing.
Oh yeah, like it's going to go so quick to straight nukes, and then unless we somehow have granted, I know there's the whole railgun thing and other tech that we don't know whether we have or not, even though I really think we do, but there's no proof, but there is proof, and there's been typical government BS.
Well, we do have railguns. I mean, that's been open to the public for a while.
It's just a question of, do we have them to be able to hit aerial threats is the point, I'm guessing, because I know we have it on a couple of ships or military bases that, they function, yes, but that's for a stationary target, not for something that's moving. Because wouldn't that be hilarious? Oh yeah, we built all these railguns and everything else, but they can't go more than 10 degrees up. So it's shit, they don't work. But yeah, with all that being said, we just wanted to do a primer on all the different types and what we're going to talk about, because now we have the second part of this, which is what the hell to do. What are your priorities? What is your list here? How do you go about it? Now, obviously that list is going to be dependent on the family members you have, your situation, your physical fitness, as well as your health, the people around you, where you're located, your topography, your general area. So you're going to have to assess to yourself kind of your own list. But this is more of a generalized idea and what we think is important for you to discuss and know and how to do. Anything that we discuss here, there are many resources online if you want to learn and want to figure out something a little more specifically, maybe catered for your area or your situation. But yeah, we have a bit of a list to go through here. Quite a few suggestions.
The high level list, these are things that the most basic and most essential. And some of these were things that a lot of people don't consider for long-term kind of shelter-in-place scenarios. You have the obvious ones: food, water, communications, security, weather-related protection, because season dependent. Like right now, it's going to be cold as balls tomorrow. -5, I think, for the low overnight.
Oh, yeah.
Would you want to be trapped outside dealing with that shit?
No.
I sure as hell wouldn't.
And you have to have a way to get those clothes dry. That's something that you need to consider. That's something that everyone forgets about in a survival situation, is not only having the clothes that are warm, but being able to, as long as you have food, water, communications, and security, meaning you have that fire, you have that shelter, you got to be able to get them dry. Mm-hmm. That's one of the biggest problems.
Yeah. So all kinds of weather-related protection. Medications, another big one. Vehicle and fire needs. Fuel for vehicles and for fire. So having access to wood, burnable materials that are non-toxic. That's a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Waste disposal, the unfortunate corpse disposal means, and basic hygiene needs. Some of those are things that a lot of people, when talking about their air quote preps, skip out on or just overlook.
Yeah. They never figure out how to build a latrine or how to deal with waste disposal. They never think about basic hygiene, because people don't realize if you're literally out in the bush, out in the middle of nowhere, a lack of basic hygiene can get you killed. There's no.
We as humans, we stink after a couple days.
What?
And it is a smell that if you've ever been next to the wrong person at a Walmart. You know that smell.
And mind you, that is somebody that still has access to things like running water and soap.
Right.
So there's an old history thing. There's an old history claim that I don't know if people understand. Back in the 15th, 16th century, you used to be able to smell Paris from 15 or 20 miles south of it.
God.
Because there was so many people, so much stink, so much sewage. People without modern luxuries. Oh, do we stink. We are as bad as a skunk sometimes, depending on how it goes. So hygiene, do not overlook it. I beg people for my own sake, because if something happens, I don't want to deal with smelly people. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
No. With that being said, I went through and did a list of basic skills you should learn in no particular order, which I know there's many of these that you're going to agree with.
Yeah.
By far, one of the most important things I think people need to understand: basic medical, basic emergency care.
100%.
If you could take any sort of classes, even just like your basic EMT classes, I took some emergency medical classes when I started driving motorcycles because I knew, riding those things, my friends are going to get hurt. Things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Also, being around farm animals all my life, I've had to deal with some stuff. It's a very unpleasant stuff, like castrating a horse is something I never ever want to have to do again. Yep. The smell. Nope. Nope. But emergency medical care, understanding how do basic medicines work, what to use, how to use, but also having a stockpile of those basic medicines. I do recommend this place like Costco and BJ's. You can buy some of that stuff in bulk, and it's not that expensive. It doesn't matter. You don't need the brand name. You don't need blah, 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 whatever. If you see it on sale, really cheap, sometimes having that extra big bottle of like aspirin or Tylenol or even Advil, anti-inflammatories, even just the most basic stuff can be huge. Not to mention any vitamins, supplements, things like that. That is huge if you're going to be surviving.
And also when it comes to medicines, getting books that cover the homeopathic options, the natural options, highly, highly recommend that as well.
Oh yeah, there's so many books out there. There's even one that my grandmother picked up that I kind of liked. Had a lot of like natural anti-inflammatory stuff that actually I can say does work.
Yeah.
On that list as well as how to get clean water.
Yeah, how to process water, literally.
Water purification and filtration. How do you do it? How do you access clean water? Where, if you were dropped off in the woods, would you know where to look for clean water? Would you know where to go? How to find it? How to collect it? How to store it properly? There's a lot of things there that, you think, oh, it's just simple. I just get water. It's like, you don't just get clean water. Unfortunately, we as humans, our stomachs are a little picky.
Yeah. On the very rare occasion, you might get water that's drinkable, directly, but it's extremely rare.
Do you know, random question, do you know if those life straws are actually any good?
They're good. Highly recommend getting a few of those to store away, vacuum seal them, and they're good for, I think, 25 years on the shelf.
Okay.
Double check the manufacturer, but I think that's what they are.
Because I bought a couple of them, but I've never actually tried them. They're just still in my kit.
Yeah.
To be honest. So, okay. Another thing that I actually got from my area, because long story short, I have a, oh no, what's the word for it? Oh no, the place where you grow the plants in, the covered plastic place that you grow plants in. Greenhouse. There we go. Greenhouse. Because clearly my brain is full of mush. Since I have a greenhouse, I actually went and got a book for the local plants to eat and the wildlife that's available. Kind of what plants can you actually grow? Can you actually eat, consume? What can you do with them? That is very important for you to have. Because God forbid if something happens, boy, you might be foraging, and you might have to supplement your meat intake if you're able to hunt or fish, gather things like that. And it's also important to know, because then you know what plants are poisonous. There are some things that you might not be aware. You might say, oh, it's just this, or oh, it's just that. No. Also, there are some berries and other things that in low doses are fine, but in higher doses, you get sick. Or worse.
Or sometimes some doses you get unalived.
Your subscription to life expires. I also had on this list learning basic nutrition. This is something that's very important that goes in with a later topic about storing food. You should know how many calories it takes to keep you alive, how many calories it takes to keep the others around you alive, and be able to calculate and be able to say, hey, we need this much food for this many people, what you should be eating.
And also what you need to figure out, or be able to figure out, the kind of calorie burn that you're doing when you're doing more survival type activities like harvesting firewood, hunting, building structures. Those activities burn more calories than you may be used to.
A lot more.
Yeah. So if you go from couch potato to survival pro in the course of a weekend, you're going to be in a bad shape.
Oh yeah. 100%. It's something that you don't even realize too. Like I remember chopping up a couple of cords of wood a few years ago. And granted, I'm a big guy. I'm pretty strong. But that being said, I'm not going to lie. I'm not in the best physical shape. So when I did that, I was
Same
like,
here.
oh my Lord.
Yeah.
I had muscles hurting I didn't know existed. I wish they didn't exist. I was like, what the hell? And I was only out there for like 3 or 4 hours. But no. Imagine having to do that every day. Like, sure, you get used to it, but those first few weeks are going to suck, and you burn so many calories and so much energy. And that becomes a problem because when you have limited supplies, expending all that energy, especially if you're not the only person you're taking care of, that amounts really quickly. So,
Yeah. You might be a thicker boy that's prepared for famine for the past few years, but that supply is going to go away real quick.
You focus on foods that are calorically dense, that are nutritionally dense, that can really keep you going and keep you balanced. Also, a little side note, make sure you have foods that'll keep you regular. I'm kind of thinking about that after my personal experience today. So, make sure you also have some foods that are just going to keep everything going downstairs, because you do not want to be dealing with that.
Something that just kind of popped into my head. Understanding where food comes from. And I know that sounds completely stupid.
The grocery store.
But
But I just show up and it's there.
There are a lot of people that really don't understand how food actually comes to be. I just kind of think back to Wall-E, and they didn't understand that, like, pizza doesn't just come off, a tree or something.
You mean to tell me there's not a pizza tree? My whole life is a
I wish
lie.
there was a pizza tree. If there was a pizza tree, dude, I would be 5,000 pounds. But I would live outside underneath the pizza tree. And I would hug the pizza tree every day and thank it. But no, there are so many people that do not understand the concept of where or how we actually get our food. So basic food and farm education, I think it's kind of critical. And being able to handle a small farm. It's a skill that I think everybody really needs to know.
I would say if anyone, so I come from like a farming family. If you could take courses in livestock management, if you can understand what livestock to have and why, my pro tip will be pigs and chickens are going to be two of your biggest things, because pigs, you get 90% of the meat out of them and you can feed them basically anything. And chickens are great because they take minimal feed. You can get the eggs every day. You can also get meat chickens that give you a good amount of meat. That being said, rabbits are also up there. They're excellent. But definitely take a livestock production class. There's a bunch of them free online, even seminars on YouTube that will give you some understanding as to what to have and why. Because if you're thinking, oh, I'll just raise a bunch of cows, you are lying to yourself.
No, you won't.
No, you friggin' won't. That's the wrong direction to go in. Because a lot of people just don't understand that. And also learn how to do things like, how do you slaughter these things? How do you prepare the meat? And I'm not saying for any of these things to become an expert and be able to know it offhand, but look it up so you have the resources available to be able to look these things up and understand it. That being said, the other thing I kind of put in here is how to build a shelter, basic building knowledge, having a good supply of hand tools. This is something I will stress to anybody. As my girlfriend has learned, having tools handy is amazing. The amount of times that she's broken down or had issues, but because I bought her a full complete mechanic set, she's able to fix her car and other people's cars. The amount of times it's got her out of problems and issues. I don't travel anywhere without one. All my vehicles have them. But more importantly, you need to learn things like how to build a basic shelter. How do you build so it's structurally sound? How to use fasteners, hardware. And a good supply of hand tools means hand tools that you can use with or without electricity. Because sure, you might be able to buy a couple of solar panels and keep a couple of battery tools going in an apocalypse no matter what. Sure, that's great. But having a couple of hand tools for each job just to be able to get by is massive. And honestly, there are some jobs I do where even though I could use a power tool, I will still use a hand tool because I'm so used to it and I kind of want to keep the skill up. No one wants to be that idiot that tries to use a hammer and they end up flinging it across the room, or God forbid, it bounces off a stud or something, or you hit yourself in the foot. In a survival situation, as a man, my girlfriend's going to look at me and go, wow, as I'm sitting there fumbling around with a freaking hammer. No. No, when people depend on you, you got to be.
You end up as the guy with one eye and 8 fingers.
Yeah. But that's why sometimes I choose to do things a little harder and use the hand tools. That way I keep up that skill. Because I even have the old style, like, the manual
crank
screwdriver.
drill.
Yeah, the crank drill. Yeah, I have even that kind of stuff because I know. Granted, I'm a little crazy. I'm aware. I'm a bit of a prepper. I understand that, but just
as I look behind you.
Hey, listen. But that's an inside joke for anyone else. They'll have to subscribe to the Discord to learn about that. But the point I'm getting at is just have hand tools, have things at the ready so you can handle business. That being said about handling business, I
be able to handle business.
I will say, know how to defend yourself and the ones around you and your family. If you are able to learn how to use a firearm and get your license to carry a firearms license, whether you use
if required in your area.
Yes, exactly. Even if it's not required, I say training is always recommended. Good training is always recommended, regardless.
100%.
Being proficient and knowing how to use it, super important. But if that's something you can get access to, I highly recommend it. Because at the end of the day, it's the only thing that's going to keep you at the same level as the robbers or thieves or anyone else that wants to try and take your stuff. Because unfortunately, in any of these scenarios, someone's going to look at your stuff and say, wow, that could be my stuff. And you're going to have to tell them no. And unfortunately, telling them no with a strongly worded letter doesn't work that well in the apocalypse. You're more than welcome to try and let me know how that goes, but I'm going to just go on a limb and say no.
Yeah. Also, on that topic, learning how to blend in. If you're in a situation where you have to shelter in place for a while, make your place look like it's been looted.
Yes.
But not to the extent that it's unlivable. Making it look like it's uninviting to anybody that's looking by.
Absolutely. You don't leave any valuables out. You don't leave any lights on. You don't have any generators going, anything loud, anything obnoxious. No, you hide all that stuff. You make it so it blends in.
Learn how to hide in plain sight.
Yes. And one thing I will say, I listened in an interview with, I forget the name. There were a couple of Green Berets that I was listening to that were talking about doing some clandestine missions and some other stuff. And they said one of the biggest things they have to teach people is to wear gender neutral clothing, meaning that men and women don't stand out differently, because in an apocalypse scenario, I hate to say it to all you girls, but you become the first targets out there, all you ladies.
Yeah.
Whereas having those clothes available so you blend in and you don't stick out, that could be huge in so many ways.
Could literally, the way you dress can literally be the difference between life and death.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I hate to bring this up, but like if you look at what's happened to a lot of those caravans that come up through, Mexico and stuff like that, and they capture all those women, those girls and stuff like that and use them to get across the border. If an apocalypse or scenario like that happened, you don't want to be that target. You want to look at like just as dangerous as any other guy. So that means, bigger clothes, baggier clothing, more layers, not effeminate. I hate to say that, but that's just the reality of the world in that scenario. But I like the idea of making your house blend in. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it hit me because it's something that I know, but I forgot to put it in the list.
Oh, yeah.
Having a bug out bag is important too. Keeping a bag packed that has everything in it that if you have to get out of Dodge, you can, and know that you don't have to go back for anything.
Exactly.
And that can be something that you have pre-packed. It can be something that you have staged and ready to go with, like the big essentials that you wouldn't be able to lug off in an emergency. And you can just toss in the rest real quick. And it has everything that you will absolutely need and not have to come back for if you have to leave your home.
Exactly.
Which would be the hardest thing for a lot of people.
Well, it's one of those things where you have to pick your priorities if things happen. And for example, if you're being invaded or if we had a zombie apocalypse or whatever this was and you had to get out of there and get somewhere safer, location is one of the most important factors to survival regardless of where you are on the planet. Your location determines how you live, how effectively you can live, what you can and can't do, and what your survival chances are. So I do recommend, at least how I have mine set up is I have basically a waterproof, almost like a mail, like messenger, like carrier bag that's waterproof. That has several pouches inside and out. And I have several things on a shelf. It's one of the ones you can see behind me. It's like a little storage closet. I have extra, pants, shirts, sweaters, everything. They're all in like separate baggies, so I can throw them in there. I have hygiene supplies. I have bedding Bedding is an important thing. Don't forget that.
Mm-hmm.
You need a blanket, a few other things. I will recommend to people, they're the, I forget the name for them, but they're like that UV, the thermal blanket, but it's not like a blanket. It's a thermal, like protective layer that like NASA developed back in the 80s and 90s, but I bought some of them because they were inexpensive, but they're meant.
Oh, like the foil blankets?
Yes. You could buy a pack of 500 of them for like $5 or $10. And I bought
Mylar blankets.
Thank you. That's the word, the Mylar. The reason is if you need to make a space also thermally efficient, or if you just need several layers, or you need to survive somewhere that's really inhospitable, you can use that. So I have those in there. The only thing I got to do is grab some of my other couple of essentials and I'm out of here. And again, everybody's different depending on what they need for their area, but having that peace of mind of knowing that I can grab all that stuff. Oh, I also have radios in there as well. And then I can bug out and be all set.
Fun fact about the Mylar. If you're outside and you're setting up a shelter and you have Mylar blankets available, you can build a small reflector with the Mylar using sticks and the Mylar blanket and make a flame reflector, and it will reflect the infrared radiation from a fire back towards you. And you get more heat from a fire that way.
Okay. I also heard it has good properties for thermals. So like if you need to make a little hideout that can't be detected under thermals or info.
It does not allow thermals to penetrate as long as it's not touching.
Oh, weird thing I saw that I've never thought about before. I saw this on a video the other day. Do you know how the Ukrainians were finding where Russian soldiers were hiding? Russian soldiers would get out and take a piss next to a tree, and they would use the thermals from their urine stains to figure out where they were hiding.
Nice.
So weird thing, if it becomes a civil war or war type of thing, be careful where you pee.
Yeah. Having thermal vision, night vision, highly recommend.
Yeah. Do they have anything that's not that expensive?
For night vision, yes. For thermal, I haven't looked.
I might look at that.
Yeah. So for the bags that you were talking about, in my car, especially this time of year, I try to keep 2 bags.
Mm-hmm.
I have a get home bag and a can't get home bag.
Oh.
The get home bag is usually full of gear that's used to get my car presumably unstuck from an ice situation. That's the kind of stuff where, okay, I need to get home. This is what's preventing me from doing that.
Yes.
The can't get home bag is actually 2 bags. It's going to have stuff for me to either stay at a hotel, so full change of clothes, full hygiene set, all that stuff. Or it's going to have that plus an inflatable mattress that I've got that I can use in the back of my car with a set of bedding, blankets, warmers, stuff like that. And I keep one of those little pocket batteries and a USB fan for the summer, just to keep some air moving around. So if I get a little bit of heat built up, keep air moving around, keep condensation moving around. Turns out if you want to go for a little trip in the summer too, you can use that same kit, and it saves on hotel costs.
Okay. I like your philosophy with that. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I've had to use the can't get home bag once. Just to stay in a hotel. Didn't have to sleep in the car.
That's good to have. I might adopt that.
Yeah. The inflatable mattress, they have a lot of different sizes available for different cars. You can look them up on Amazon. They're not very expensive. I think I paid $85 for mine.
Okay.
It's awesome just to have that peace of mind.
I am now seeing one of the flaws with my logic, which was that I always assumed I'd be able to get back home because I work so close to my house. But it never occurred to me that I should have like a get home bag. Okay, I'm going to make some changes.
Yeah. Salt, rope, line, shovel.
Yeah.
Even a small battery operated pulley.
Okay.
Or winch.
Okay. I mean, I have a couple of come-alongs, like those kind of ones I could throw. Okay. I'm going to look at that. That's why I like this podcast. We always learn stuff.
That's one of the goals, man.
I know.
Teach and learn.
All right, another thing on the list here. We did cover basic hygiene, latrines. Is there anything particular under hygiene that you wanted to highlight? Because I'm assuming most people at home know how to take care of themselves.
You would assume, yes. Having things like alcohol wipes, baby wipes, disposable bathroom wipes, those can be lifesavers. bags to put them in if you're not in like the best of situations right away. Even as you know, don't want to go into too much detail. Having a bucket with some trash bags and something padded to be able to sit on if you absolutely have to, it can make a very bad situation not quite as bad in an emergency.
Okay.
So I'll just leave that there for you to piece together.
Oh, yeah. Well, it all makes sense to me. What I would say for people...
Also, on that, and sorry to step on your dick, having things like Pepto-Bismol on hand, the little dissolvable tablets, those things take up like no space. And let me tell you, if you're in the middle of like a situation where your car is stuck or whatever, that is like the last thing you want to be dealing with is bubble guts.
Yeah.
So just get a box of those and keep them handy.
It's one of those things like I can never stress that enough because my house is like a little pharmacy at this point.
Right.
Grab extra meds of anything that you ever use. Put it this way, like what I did, I think this was like during COVID because I had time and I was bored, as I put a little dry erase board up on like my medicine cabinet that I have in the kitchen. And every time I used a medicine, I'd write it down. So after the course of a year or two, I just bought a lot of whatever I used often. So if I didn't use it within a year, odds are I probably don't really need it unless it's a specialty thing. But if I use it often, I wrote it down. That way I bought it in bulk and I'm all set.
Yep.
One of the things I did like that you added to the list is where and how to get or make combustible fuels and or biodiesel. Now, the biodiesel thing does bring up a good point, which is if you can get a multi-flex or multi-fuel vehicle that runs on different biodiesel, kerosene, diesel, and or ethanol, anything like that, that is a good asset to have.
Yes, it is. Yeah, something like that in the right situation or wrong situation can possibly be the difference for you. Being able to make your own fuel to get out of town when all the fuel pumps are empty or not being powered, there's something to be said for that kind of peace of mind and security.
Absolutely. The other thing I will say is like look up how to make a latrine if you're going to be stuck somewhere without power and it's stationary for a while. Understand the hygiene of how to dispose of waste. There's actually, the Romans did a lot of study and data about how to do it effectively because of their large armies. So we've known the science for thousands of years about how to do it without getting people too sick. The other thing on the list here is how to establish power, communication, heat, and cooling. What that means is things like how to have a environment or shelter to where you're going to you can both be warmed up, but also you can get some heat moved out in the summer and stay cool. That's why those Mylar blankets and other things can become very helpful. Understanding how to build a shelter in a cooler environment, things like how to build maybe like, not the wine cellar, like when you have that cold cellar in your basement for when you store stuff.
Like a root cellar?
Root cellar, that's the word I'm thinking of. How to be able to do something like that. Because I've seen some survival videos where some people, to build like in house to where like underneath where they build their temporary shelter, underneath it they'll dig down and they'll build like a root cellar and they'll close it off. That way in the summer they have somewhere that's cooler to kind of stay and hang out. There's a bunch of ways to do things, but definitely look up how to do some of those things, especially establishing communication. If you're going to be with any other people, having radios is important. I have a couple of sets of short range radios and a couple of sets of like the long range.
Ham.
Yeah, the ham radios. So learn how to use them, understand how to use them.
Getting a ham license these days is pretty easy. Admittedly, I still need to do that. I should do that. But it's something that it's kind of frowned upon as like a fringe thing. Like, that's only for weirdos and old people. Well, guess what? I'm both of those.
I like that. That sums up the podcast pretty well. But
basically,
but no, knowing how to communicate with people is huge. That's the only reason we've ever made it this far as a species. Communication is number one, and especially if you're
that and opposable thumbs.
Opposable thumbs really does help. It's amazing how far I'll go. I watch my cat struggle doing stuff. I'm like, man, if only you had a thumb, that they would get to be way more trouble. But But no, communication is key, especially if you have a group of people that either you're responsible for or a group of people that you would be surviving with. Keep in mind, most people end up having people around them that they're close with. So communication is key, especially you can't always be everywhere at once.
Yeah. And also, if there's any dangers that are inbound, you can use that for security.
Oh, 100%. You know, that's it's going to be such a requirement in so many situations to be able to have that security, especially, you know, if you're someone like me that like I have a lot of people around me. I have a lot of people to where like my place is kind of the hub. So I know I'd be in the situation where people would be coming towards me and looking at me saying, hey, you got solar panels, you got generators, you got space. Let me in, bro. And I'd be like, sure, that's okay. But I'm in kind of more of a unique situation. Whereas in a lot of people kind of be fending for themselves, but even so, always have radios available. Even if they're just the cheap, even just the cheap like Amazon or Walmart ones, something. As long as they are half decent waterproof. Now,
you kind of touched on a subject that I wasn't sure about talking about, but you brought it up, so might as well. Some people, and I don't know if they're going to listen or not, but they are the people in their family or friends group that they know they're the people that everyone's going to come to.
Oh, yeah.
Or someone listening is thinking, oh, if such and such happens, I'm just going to go to, you know, Pip's house, or I'm going to go to Gibbs's house. That may not be the case. The person that you know in your day-to-day life, in a survival situation, they may have the supplies that you see or have seen or something. If they let you into that part of their life, they may have the supplies to get themselves and their family by for a year, and you think, oh, they can just share a little bit.
No.
Well, the math changes when you add more people to it. And people who are prepared already know this. So don't be, you know, completely not ready for a knock at a door to go unanswered, or worse, to be answered with a barrel in your face.
Yeah, you, at the end of the day, you have to be responsible for your own survival, and you have to contribute if you are going to survive. It is not, it's not something you get for free. This is a situation where, you know, there are many of us that have things already prepared and situated. But that being said, I would tell you right now, if somebody walked in off the street during an apocalypse and said, hey, can I stay here? I don't think they'd finish the rest of the sentence. No, I'm sorry, but no, my calculations have already been made. And unless you already know me prior, no. And even then, there would have to be discussions prior to anything happening. You would have already had to receive the invite, put it that way. There is no post-apocalypse invite.
It is pre-apocalypse invite, or, you know, proof that you can add to the group in a positive way, you know, immediately.
Oh yeah.
Or you know, fulfill a need that is, you know, apparent.
Oh yeah.
Something to that extent, but the people that think, oh, I'll just go here, they might have another thing coming. And that's something that a lot of people don't consider.
That's something to where, you can't just show up at people's house.
No.
Regardless of the situation. Absolutely not. And you can't get mad if they don't help you.
Right.
It's like they prepared, you didn't. You know.
And this just kind of Zoidberged into my head. When it comes to preparing, it does not take a lot to prepare.
No.
You can literally go and get one of those cheap totes, like one of the like $10 or $15 ones. Yeah. And if you've got kids, you can get one of those totes, go to the store, and take your kids through the food aisles. And okay, yes, it's not going to be the best, you know, 5-course meal food. But you can have your kids go through the aisles and you can just look at them and say, hey, let's imagine we're going to go on a camping trip for 3 or 5 days. Show me the stuff that if I was going to cook without an oven, without a microwave, without, you know, XYZ appliance, without your fancy air fryer or whatever. If I was going to cook these, what would be the meals that you would eat? No questions asked, no fights given. Show me the stuff that you would eat without hesitation. And you walk through the aisles and you find the stuff that's canned, dried, prepackaged, sealed up, that's going to last for a long time. You can fill that tote up for, I guarantee, less than $50 and get at least a week out of that tote.
Oh, yeah.
If you are careful with what you buy.
The way that, and I 110% agree with you, it's about doing little things here and there to then build up a stockpile. And the stockpile doesn't have to look like a lot, because you don't need to be somebody that's ready to survive the apocalypse for 20 years for 40 people. No.
Right.
It's about having enough so that your immediate needs are met, or that you can stretch it out for a little bit. And I do agree 100% that, it has to be, stuff that's dried, stuff that you could make easily without stress. Mm-hmm. That's another thing. If you're a parent and you're dealing with several kids that are really being a pain in the ass and not listening, and you got to have stuff that makes it simple. There are
Invest
a lot
of melatonin.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. Copious amounts. Yes. 5-gallon bucket. Yes. But
also probably some chloroform. If you've ever seen that nap time commercial on YouTube.
Yes. But in investing in foods that are not only going to preserve well, but things that you are okay with having for a while. There are many companies that specialize in making those foods. I will say there's quite a few of them that are ripoffs. I will be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But there are some of them that are worth it. Do your research online, talk to a few different people. It really depends also where your area is, where the warehouses are and the storages and the shipping costs and everything. But getting a little bit of food here and there purposely to stockpile, particularly, I can't say it well enough, canned food is one of the cheapest and best ways to get some stuff that's going to last a while. We've been doing it for hundreds of years. We're very good at it. And if you learn how to can stuff yourself, mason jars are even cheaper. So you can make your own jams and jellies that will last for a long time. And that will give you some easy, quick sugar, some easy, quick calories. There's ways to can meat. There's ways to can anything. Canned bread is even a thing. Learn how to make sourdough that doesn't require a lot of maintenance or a lot of work. And also learn how to cook stuff over an open flame. That is something, it's different cooking.
Have cast iron supplies to cook with.
Yes. That's a lifesaver.
Yeah. And the seasonings and stuff too,
Oh yeah. If you can get totes, a couple of totes put away with all the food and all those different options and everything already pre-packaged, everything, you are all set to where, okay, we're going. Put it in the vehicle. It takes you a couple of minutes to get everything together, maybe 5-10 minutes with the kids, because we know how kids are. And then you're out the door and you're good. Mm-hmm. But having that pre-packaged and knowing what you have is huge, especially if you go to the grocery store, maybe once a month when you go, one of the trips, you just grab a few extra things, a couple of things here, a couple of things there, and eventually that adds up.
It doesn't take a lot. And if you've got to spare $10, $15, $20, you can get just canned stuff. The off-brand is literally made in the same factories that they make the regular stuff that's canned. The Del Monte is made on the same lines as the Great Value, or the Meyer brand, or the Kroger brand. It tastes pretty much the same. The salt content varies, but that's what the seasonings are for. Mm-hmm. Salt doesn't take up a whole lot of space.
No.
So just get a little extra and you'll have it.
And that being said, I will speak limitedly about this, but I have the same opinion when it comes to ammunition.
Oh, yeah.
So, if you are a firearm owner, I cannot stress it enough. If you buy and you buy in bulk, it saves you a ton of money. That way you have some stuff to put away. I'm not going to tell you how much ammo you should have put away, because that varies by person and what you carry and what you have. All I will say is enough to make sure you can be proficient with a weapon and or defend yourself for long term and or take care of business over the course of a long period. But keep in mind, whatever you carry is what you have to physically carry. So don't be that Chad that thinks, oh yeah, I can carry 500 rounds of 45-70. No, you're an idiot. Good luck carrying that around.
You don't want to be trying to lug a backpack full of 50,000 rounds of 9mm, because you're not going to do it.
No. There's certain calibers I would say absolutely, that's great. Certain ones I would say stay the hell away from.
You can carry a lot of 22 in a small space.
And do not think it needs to be a large caliber. 5.56 is going to get most of your needs met by a long shot, and 22 especially.
Yeah, 5.56 or 2.23 if you're not super familiar.
Those are Those are going to be great all-rounders. They're going to handle most things. But just factor in the weight. Because as somebody that just had to move everything out of my safe and had to move everything around, fun fact.
You were regretting that.
Well, fun fact, my safe was so heavy, I went to go move it with a dolly and I bent the bottom of it in.
Your safe or the dolly?
The safe, the floor of the safe, I have to take a sledgehammer, bang it back out because I had so much ammo on the top of it. I didn't realize it. So that I didn't put two and two. I thought, oh yeah, it's a floor. It's going to be pretty sturdy. No, Nope.
No, it's not.
No. But nobody thinks to drill through a floor to get through a safe. But anyways, so keep that in mind when it comes to survival, because ammunition is something that people overlook all the time.
Yeah. And something else that gets overlooked, entertainment methods, ways to keep your mind occupied, keeping your mental health in check. That's something that gets overlooked as well. Having books to read, cards to play with, games to play with your kids, something that can just distract you for 20 minutes, half an hour, something to boost your morale. In an apocalypse type scenario, that can literally be the difference of you continuing to fight for a few days or not.
Oh, yeah.
You lose your own personal fight and it's over.
Oh, yeah. I would say there's so many different card games to learn. I highly recommend taking some time, learning how to play a few of them, because you don't want to have to try to come up with them on the fly. I will tell you right now, in a survival scenario, you'll never come up with a game as good as like poker or rummy or any war, any of the kind of stuff that, is already established. Same thing as well. Books are always a great option. The problem is they are a bit space and heavy. That being said, if it's a situation where you can have like a Kindle with a bunch of stuff downloaded, that's very low power. That's something where you can easily keep a little power bank and a Kindle.
Yeah, if you're someone who's a technophile and you've got a little bit of extra money on hand, having like a cheap laptop, that's only going to be used for like media applications, acquiring, do it however you feel necessary, acquiring movies on thumb drives, because thumb drives don't take up a lot of physical space, but they can hold a ton of movies. Getting a nice collection of movies for yourself, for your kids, for your friends when you have friends around. Stuff like that can make a big difference.
Yeah, movies, music, anything like that. And especially nowadays with the density of a lot of modern, memory
drives and storage media.
Yeah, you can get lots and lots of storage on this stuff, and you can fill it up with movies and music up at the yin yang and never get close to filling it up.
Well, yeah, like your portable external hard drives.
Oh, yeah.
Those are solid state now at 8 terabytes?
Oh, yeah, easily.
That if you were just on music, you would never be able to listen to it all.
No. You can download the entirety of Spotify. I forget it was something like 20 terabytes or something like that, 30 terabytes, which is insane. That's the entirety of all the music that's on Spotify. That includes every podcast, music, audiobooks, all of that. That's the last time I looked a few years ago, by the way, so I could be off in terms of as of today.
Yeah.
But that's including alternate and everything else. And I think that was also including with it downloading not with MP3, but with FLAC. So keep that in mind. Yeah. In terms of movies, though, they don't have to be the highest quality. It's not like you need 4K everything,
No, 720 is more than adequate, especially for a smaller screen.
Yeah.
And you literally double the amount of movies you can hold.
Oh, yeah.
And especially if you're just doing like a small laptop or something, headphones, you don't need a big sound system.
No.
But
the sound system that's built into most of those laptops is going to get you fine. Headphones would be great if you're trying to keep a low profile.
Right.
If audio is an issue, audio is a concern. One thing I will say that's not on this list I just thought about, you're going to want at some point either earplugs or hearing protection. Yeah. Absolutely. The ones that I like that I have a like a solar adapter if I ever needed to, but they have automatic noise canceling, but they also will amplify around me depending on what setting I have it on. So sometimes it's helped to hear things that I can't hear, and it will automatically cut out. Like if I were to fire my firearm, it would automatically cut, like a lot of them do. So stuff like that, you might not think it's a big deal. Depending on the situation, it could be nice to have.
Being able to hear is a very big deal in a survival situation. Being able to hear, eye protection, being able to see.
Yes.
You wouldn't think, but hell, even a pair of sunglasses, a good pair of sunglasses can double as your eye pro.
Sunglasses that are safety rated is huge. A buddy of mine got me some. They're I forget the name of the brand name, but they're like that very 80s style looking sunglasses. They're very like edgy and very whatever. But the reason why I like them is they have wings on the side to cover kind of almost the side of my temple, and they're safety rated. They're ballistic rated. So like, sure, they can't take a bullet, but like any sort of ricochet or anything else, I have a good shot of being able to deal with that. And so I can use them if I'm, using a saw or using anything. Having that safety equipment is super important because you need to protect your eyes. If you lose your eyesight, you're done. There's no ifs, ands, going about that.
Which, that brings up one other point. If you have any pending like medical things that you need to get taken care of, if you've got the ability to, get them taken care of sooner rather than later, because you never know when you're not going to be able to get them taken care of.
That's valid. I didn't think about that.
And I'm talking to myself there because my left eye is useless.
Really? I didn't know that.
I'm 20/80 in my left eye.
Whoa.
But 20/10 in my right eye. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, funny thing is, I had surgery on both my eyes about 10 years ago. I had PRK in my right eye, photorefractive keratotomy, where they literally like lop off the majority of your cornea.
What?
They did the laser correction
How
on
have
my.
I known you for a decade, and this has never been said?
I'm sure I talked about it, but because I used to have glasses, now I don't. The PRK, they get rid of the bulk of your cornea. They did the laser correction, and then I had to wear a bandage lens on my eye for like a week while it regrew. My left eye, I had regular LASIK. So they, cut the flap, did the correction, put the flap back. For some reason, when the flap went back down, it curled underneath on the edges. So I've technically got 20/20 vision, but all the light that comes into my eye is distorted heavily. Now, they went in and they ripped it up twice, and they trimmed the edge. They scraped everything off. And I'm sorry if I'm, hurting anybody's taint by talking about this, because I know that happens to me.
I don't think it's their taint that they're worried about, buddy.
Out. I know. But yeah, they scraped everything off and put the flap back down. They even used a solution that encourages cell regrowth on the cornea, and just like forced it down with another bandage lens, like an extra thick bandage lens, and it still curled. So my left cornea is like grossly deformed to the point where there is no amount of distance that I can hold like regular sized text to where I can read it. I am limited to like 6-inch text across the room, and I can barely make that out.
Damn.
Yeah, it's bad. Now, again, my right eye is like $1,000 rifle scope.
Okay.
I can make out like the ultra tiny text across the room of the eye doctor office. So if I lose my right eye, I am totally fucked.
Oh, yeah.
If I have to get rid of my left eye, well, I can survive.
Yeah. If you lose your right eye, you're going to have seeing eye children for you is what they're going to be. But if you lose your left eye, you get to be a pirate, is what I'm hearing. That's
I'll be looking for the booty.
that nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Yeah, I think so far we've gotten a good list as to the kind of threats for people to be having. I'll let you go.
Yeah. Speaking of the list, there are tons of books and PDF files that are available on the topics that we've discussed tonight. And I cannot encourage people enough to obtain said books and PDF files and keep them in both analog and digital format in ways that are accessible without internet if you're going digital.
If I can make a
download
suggestion,
them. Yes.
if people have time at home, which I eventually want to upload what I have once I'm done with it. But I am making a 3-ring binder and laminating. And I have a page at the beginning that's a table of contents. And that's going to be in my long-term food storage box. So the first thing you open for the food storage, it's going to be that My Master booklet that's going to show everything I need. Now, I say everything in quotations because that's like the main book.
Right.
I have several others, as you know, that are going to be other stuff. But if you can get something that's 3-ring binder, laminated, or even a 3-ring binder, maybe something that even like has a little flex to it so you can kind of stuff it somewhere, but laminated. I cannot stress that enough because it's going to get wet. It's going to get dirty. You're going to bring it places. You're going to be on the move. Laminated.
Right. I only stressed digital, like in Kindle form or on a tablet or a laptop or something, only because there's so much information. You don't want to have to lug all that around in printed form. So
you're going to have to be selective.
Yeah, print out 1 or 2 of them. Print out some really good ones that you're going to use for like this situation or that situation. Yeah, that's great. But the vast majority, like I have a compendium, we'll call it, of a lot of files that range for everything, security, survival, food growth, how to grow food for a family of 4 on a 1/4 acre.
Yeah.
That kind of crap. And it's stuff that I've accumulated over the years. And I've got all of that in one zip file that's spread out across like 10 devices that I can access without internet. So if I have to, I'm good.
And it's just important to where knowledge is power and knowledge is survival. And being able to get access to that is extremely key. And there's no way, no matter how much reading and studying, you're never going to be able to remember all this. None of us can. Even people that I've met that are like hardcore into the prepper lifestyle, regardless, you're always going to have reference something. So reference books are very nice to have. Make a space for them, have them, because in most scenarios, most likely, hopefully, you'll have access to be able to get back to your house, grab the stuff you need, and go. And thankfully, in most modern vehicles, you should have enough space to be able to grab your food, your clothing, and just throw a bunch of books in that you need, even if you don't make your own list. At least hopefully. Unless you drive like a Mini Cooper or something. In which case, I'm sorry that you drive a Mini Cooper.
Yeah, that's your own fault.
Hey, you made the choice. But yeah, that's really, I think we pretty much covered everything on this kind of very extended episode.
Yeah, it's not too extended. We've done longer.
Oh, we're coming up pretty close.
We've had longer.
But this is a topic that, like, as y'all can tell, we discuss this stuff all the time. We're both pretty into the prepping kind of stuff and being prepared. Neither one of us are like,
hey, you can always go the crazy route and just try to build your own floating island community.
Hey, listen, I still want to do that at some point. I did
friend group. It's totally possible.
I did the math on doing it out of that floating foam.
Right.
I did, mind you, this was 2017. I did the math and proposed that to a few friends, and they all thought I was the crazy one. And little do they know, I still think I'm right. It'd be about $300,000 or $400,000 to get basically a floating couple of acres.
Yeah,
that floats 12 feet above the ocean.
You could honestly probably find that in like reclaimed foam.
Oh yeah, this is something to where eventually, after I'm done with this house and I have a little bit of extra money, I want to do a proof of concept on a lake.
There you go.
Because yeah,
a half-acre floating fortress.
Hey, you can just keep adding on to it, man.
Exactly.
There's no limit. Are there any?
It's like Lego at that point.
Are there any laws about making your own island if it's not actually touching the ground? It's just a boat.
I don't know.
If it doesn't have an engine, is it even a boat at that point? Or is it just a really big canoe? Can it identify as a canoe? Can I have it? I have ideas. It identifies as a really big kayak. I'm a fat man. It's just a big kayak. That's all it is. Leave me alone, officer. It's a fat man's kayak. Yes, I need 12 tons of foam for my ass. Yes, that's...
This This is the USS Oompa Loompa.
That's our singing song. As we're all just using the oars. Oompa Loompa. So we're going down the river.
Oh,
wouldn't that be, honestly, all I can imagine is, like, imagine if we got invaded by Russia or China, and they don't hear the U.S. military, they hear the 10 or 12 of us on a giant floating piece of foam with rifles and everything, and all the military gear going, Oompa Loompa Doopa Doo Doo, coming down the river. Oh, man. Oh, God, we are the Willy Wonka hit squad. That's for sure.
Oh. With the amount of degenerates that are running around these days, I wonder what kind of crazy bullshit would get pulled if, like, a land invasion were to occur.
There'd be really, really, really absurd memes on TikTok and Instagram. I would get videos nonstop of "Life has many doors, Ed Boy," with somebody pulling out a 12-gauge shotgun at some Chinese soldier or something. It would just be unreal. Or there'd be the random things, like a random civilian just tossing a live grenade on a Russian soldier, just being like, "Here, catch."
I loved those ones from that kids show, the guy with the emu. It's like, and from the Ukrainian farmers taking the Russian tanks.
Yep.
Like, what do you got there? Nothing. Piece of farm equipment.
God, imagine just going outside your yard, just be like, "Oh, that's a T-72. That's now mine. Thank you for the T-80. I appreciate it." That's the other thing I guess I never thought about. If there was like an invasion, can I get my own Abrams finally? Can I get a Bradley?
Like, that's the thing. There are enough gamers that have played like simulation games that are real enough. Some of them might be able to actually work some of the equipment.
Oh yeah, not well, but they'll work it.
Yeah.
No, the bigger problem I have is, can I fit in them? That's my. Because I'll be honest, unless they make like
some of them entry ports are a little slender.
Unless they make like an XL size Abrams, I'm gonna have a problem. But that was my problem at the air show that was near me. I can't say which one it is. That'll give me exactly where I live. But
right,
there was an air show near me a while ago. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool. I can sit in F-14 or F-15. No.
You can't.
No, they looked at me and went, no. I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, "Okay, try to fit a leg in." And then I suddenly realized that my shoulders are wider than the fucking cockpit. And I'm like, "Yeah, no. You know what helicopter I got to sit in? A Chinook. That's about it.
Chinook, yeah.
That's the only one I can fit in the pilot seat. And even then, it's like, all right, this is cramped.
Yeah, see, so, it's the reverse for fair rides. You must be this small to sit in.
That's always the problem. But man, imagine like that would be the upside. Be like, I just now took a Bradley.
Yes.
And if so, what's the paint job we'd put on it?
Dicks, giant dicks. It's us. That's what we do.
Just, oh man, I just, the things I can't say on the podcast, but dear God, they would be ashamed to have us on the other side, only because if you, it would be a lot. But that being said, I think our crew would have a little bit of fun with an Abrams.
Oh
I'm just saying that would be enjoyable, unless we can make our own somehow. That's the other thing. I'd like imagine all the Mad Max bullshit.
Oh God,
like
yes.
People taking the M777, like the 155 howitzers, and sticking them on like an RV.
Big guns.
Okay, Beavis. Is it Beavis or Butthead? I always get the two confused.
Butthead.
Okay, Butthead. Yep.
Butthead is the deeper voice one.
Okay.
Come to Butthead.
But yeah, I think I don't know if there's anything else on the docket to discuss on that one.
No, we've gone way off topic, so we're good.
But I like ending the podcast when we go off topic. I feel like that's it's a nice way to wrap it up,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think to probably close this one out, I want to say thank you everybody to listening. We really appreciate it. We always, enjoy interacting with people. Definitely want to invite everyone over to our Discord, to our various social medias between our Facebook, our Instagram. I guess TikTok is still alive. They've just
In the air. It may or may not be up.
No, it's up.
Oh, did they bring it back up?
Yeah,
it was down earlier today.
No, it's up now. It's up as of 3 or 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
So if that doesn't give people an idea of when we're recording this, I don't know what does, but so we have.
Well, if that doesn't, this will. For better or worse, tonight is the last episode we will record with President Biden in the White House. Tomorrow at noon, President Trump gets sworn back into office. We may do an episode covering some of the shenanigans of the past 4 years, the previous 4 years, and the forthcoming 4 years. We know the politics gets touchy. We're going to give people some time to digest everything before we try to go down that path.
Yeah, because I don't want to shove politics down people's throats, because that gets really boring, because 97 other people, 97 million people do that. But we also want to take some time to look at least I'm a big political junkie, and I want to take some time, if that's an episode people were interested in, I want to look as factually as I could from Biden's presidency, and then look at Trump's previous presidency, and look at what the Agenda 47 thing he has going on, and seeing where we have been, what happened, and hopefully where we might be, and be able to give an honest, as unbiased as I could, assessment on it.
Right. Because we both have our own leanings politically, but we're both also capable of, playing devil's advocate, being kind of unbiased or less biased at least.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, we both want to see the country do well. Neither of us are the biggest fans of the government as it sits in either capacity.
No, but this podcast, couldn't imagine.
We'll kind of go down that path a little bit more in detail when it's a little bit more appropriate. So just know that those episodes are coming. Not like Johnny Sins, but we will hold back. I had to get the Johnny Sins reference in there.
You're just all about Johnny Sins today. I know what you were doing over the weekend.
Nothing. The kids are here.
Oh. Yeah, just want to say thank you, everyone.
Speaking of which, again, happy 13th birthday to my son, Aiden. I did get permission from his mom to use his name on the podcast.
Yay!
So
happy birthday!
Yeah.
Welcome to the Almost Adult Club.
Yeah. His last day of being a preteen was today.
Yeah, a strap in, kid.
Right. You realize you've known me longer than, or as long as he's been alive now.
Yeah, I'm an old fuck. That's because I met you when he was on the way.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
Wow.
How your knees doing?
They're fucking not. I was ripping up carpet all day, and that's not a euphemism or anything. I was literally ripping up carpet in the other office. And that carpet's been in since the 60s, man. It's seen some shit. So.
So that's why Mrs. Gibbs isn't here.
Very funny.
Yeah.
On a serious note, though, I have learned be careful where the staples are of the carpet.
Oh yeah,
I might need a tetanus shot at this point. I've stepped on it so many staples with my bare foot. And do you ever see that scene with Jim Carrey? Where he's not Zoolander, maybe it might be Zoolander, where he gets the arrow to the knees, and he looks. And
That's not Zoolander. My God, that was Ace Ventura 2.
Ace Ventura. Sorry, I couldn't think of the movie. I'm not a big Jim Carrey guy. I don't know what to tell you, but it's the one where he gets the arrow to the knee and then he yells. He gets the arrow to the other knee. That was me for about 4 straight hours this afternoon, just dealing with those staples in the floor. So.
Yeah,
it's been fun. But all right. I think we're probably pretty good to close this one out, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, cool.
Socials, Discord. Happy birthday, Aiden. And thank you as always to everybody that's listening in, hitting us up on the socials. We've got a couple new ones on the Discord.
I got to make Grover's roll.
Got to make Grover's roll. Hell yeah.
Yep, I'll do it.
Super Grover's got to get the one of us roll. The first.
No, he's getting the Schmitty Warbid Jaegerman Jensen because he was number 1.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah. Find us again next week. Thank you as always for listening. And we'll see you then.
Absolutely.